imposter syndrome is real. Heck yeah, let's get into imposter syndrome. So where this story ends up is I am now the director of mission advancement at St. Paul here in Dayton. We oversee homeless shelters. We currently have 500 guests every night in the homeless shelter, and I oversee the department to fundraise $2.5 to $3 million a year, and I oversee a staff of 6 people. Sorry, it has grown.
It's grown, yeah.
It's grown in the last couple months, and so like the imposter syndrome of just like, do they think I'm a good enough boss? Like, am I conveying this right? Like, do they actually want to learn from me? Like, there's no way. Like, they already know more than I ever could. And so, yeah, free therapy lesson here. I like this.
In today's world, Catholic men face countless challenges on the road to holiness. Addiction, anger, self-doubt, relationship struggles, and so much more. These battles can leave us stuck in mediocrity. But the truth is, we're made for more. The world needs good men. Welcome to the Hey Brother podcast, where we dive into these real struggles and share from our own experience as brothers and husbands and fathers. Together, we'll explore how to overcome life's challenges and become the men God created us to be. So grab a seat, brother, and remember, you're not alone.
I'm going to get you a better product.
You talking about your nerves? Or are you being nervous?
No. I'm absolutely nervous.
Absolutely nervous.
Because
we are recording now, so
that's fine. Hey, remember when I told you I love when people do that?
Yeah.
I actually hate it now that I'm on the other side of it. No, I love you and want to be the best person I can be to help you in whatever message, like a brotherhood, you need to get out. And so, like, yeah, absolutely, I'm nervous.
Feeling the weight of that?
I'm feeling the weight of, like, just, like, everything that's happened of, like, you just start and you're like, hey, tell me about Scouts at St. Peter's. And it's like, okay. And we have lunch. And then somehow, for some reason, you do net with my wife.
Yeah.
And then here we are 2 years later, and we're in a podcast.
Yeah. It's been more than 2 years, hasn't it?
Oh, man. Well,
because you guys have been married longer than 2 years, right?
Oh, you had to just start the podcast with making me remember how long I've been married, huh? That's brutal.
This is all stuff that might be cut out still.
Okay, that's fine.
Or we might keep it.
It has to have been, well, how old is Steven?
Steven's 4, turning 5.
I think you had Steven.
Okay.
I think it was 21. Because I just kind of vaguely remember the first the first dinner we had when we came over.
Okay.
That you guys had Steven. Because we were so impressed with, like, how well he behaved at dinner at, like, 2 years old or whatever. And I'm sure you guys were probably, like, sweating bullets or whatever. But we were like, holy cow, there are people who know how to parent. And they're good at it. Like, we need to keep them around so that we can be better parents. It has to be like 21. So like it has to be like 4 years ago, something like that.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. 4 years ago.
Yeah. You should keep that prayer though, and like maybe that's how you should do your new intros. Is like just because that prayer was banging.
The prayer, like we started.
Your starting prayer, I thought so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like actually record that.
It could be like do that and then just hit the drop.
Yeah.
That could be a good way.
Good way. We're still trying to figure out what's the best way to intro the podcast. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of things you can mix up and change and tweak.
For sure.
And see, like, does this work? But then there's like the core of it's still going to be the same. It's going to be an interview with somebody, and then it's going to be me and Mitch talking.
Well, hold on. Like I said. Well, one thing. I'm gunning for Mitch's spot. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I do also love that I now have a vessel to finally learn what Mitch thinks about me.
Yeah, there we go.
Because I've never like had that like, hey Mitch, like what do you think of me? He has to say and put it on recording now.
Yeah.
The pros and the cons of what he thinks of me.
There you go. Yeah. And I'm going to make sure he's honest about it.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is good. I think it was interesting because you were saying before we started recording that you don't think Mitch is a loud person, and I don't know. I'm his brother, so I have a biased opinion of him, and I don't think he's like got a loud personality per se.
Yeah.
He's just got a loud voice,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's a product of like living in a house with 6 other siblings. I think is what we grew up with. So,
And he's middle.
So it's
Middle high.
I'm like smack dab in the middle.
Okay.
But like really, me and him are like share the middle role because my sister Stephanie passed away before I was born.
I don't know that I knew that.
Oh, you didn't?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So that's how Steven got his namesake. So this might have been a conversation we had 4 years ago.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
A while ago. But Steven, our oldest is named after myself, and I'm named after my sister Stephanie.
Okay.
So her name was Stephanie Nicole. My name is
I
Nicholas.
was wondering
Steven.
where Stephanie and Nick
How does this work?
Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah. So that's she passed away, and she's so great to have her as an intercessor in heaven.
Yeah.
But then so the dynamic is like me and Mitch, 2 older sisters, 2 younger sisters.
Okay.
And that's the way.
So you split the middle.
Yeah, we're right in the middle.
Yeah.
So, but loud household, loud chaos. Household.
Got it.
You learn to talk loud.
Yeah, yeah.
when you need to.
Everyone always complains that I'm loud. So that's probably why I don't think of Mitch as loud.
Interesting, yeah.
Is that he's just like with me in this high volume. Yeah, it's bad. I just as soon as I answer a phone at work, I hear every office door close.
Yeah.
Well, John's on the phone again. I need to get back in the habit of like closing my office door before I answer the phone.
Yeah. I would put you in the same category though as Mitch, where it's like you have a loud voice and it carries, but you don't have like a loud personality.
Oh well, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if it's really bad to have a loud personality.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they could go both ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think I've met a lot of people who like are really comfortable living out who they are. Like there was a guy at Bobby's wedding. He was in Bobby's wedding party, and he like won one of the wedding games, and like was going crazy. Like he had a chair over his head, and he's like raising it up.
I don't know that I would do that.
Yeah.
But that story also does ring true on like I like to feel like I can read a vibe and read a room.
Okay.
Like I can be very professional, very button up, and just like I know this is work.
Mm-hmm.
But then also like I know when we're out back playing not golf, but playing like
Croquet.
Thank you. That's gonna happen a bunch.
This summer? Oh yeah.
Yeah, but like I know when we're playing croquet that I'm gonna act up a little bit.
Oh yeah.
But I will say that isn't always true. And actually, I owe your wife an apology because the last JP2 dinner we were having, she was sharing something so sweet, so loving, and afterwards, I was a little too comfortable with our friends, and I leaned over to Jeff and I said, I've never thought about the fact that Jesus shit himself. and then like my wife scolded me, not scolded, but my wife afterwards was like, yeah, don't lean over and make jokes. Like you kind of undercut Renee's like sharing moment. I was like, oh, shoot, I do owe her an apology. So hopefully she listens to the podcast to get that apology.
There we go.
So you at least got one view this week.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'll make sure Renee, John apologized to you.
Thank you.
In a super heartfelt way.
You just have
to
to
listen.
watch the podcast. Yeah.
Even if it's this 15-second segment, like
Clip it.
Yeah,
there you go.
There you go.
For Renee.
Oh man. So have you been on a podcast or you've done some media production before in the past, but
just for fun, who didn't try to start a video game YouTube in
sure
the early teens? I mean, so I did a Destiny podcast, the video game, with a buddy for a while. Don't go looking for it.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Is that just like where you're like kind of cut in the screen, or like it was just like voice over the gameplay, or
what did we do? I think we did some like video. We did some like sharing the screen of like, hey, this is the news that's happening. A little bit of gameplay. Yeah. So did that. But that was really just like rooted out of like loneliness. I was living in Kansas at the time, in a small town, Holton. Shout out Holton, Kansas. Would love it. Would absolutely go back and raise my family there. But as a single guy, it stunk
Yeah.
because I didn't have a community or anything, and so it was a little bit rooted in that. And like, I've got some free time. Maybe I'm gonna bingo bango and become a big YouTuber.
Sure.
Make some dough. So I did a little bit of that, but not worthwhile at all.
Didn't it blow up like
did
like
not.
the younger self thought it
Yeah,
would
no,
blow
yeah,
up?
no. I'm working a 9 to 5, not going full, $1 million Mr. Beast
Yeah.
channels. So, which I don't think I'd want to do.
I think that's anyone. Like even there's a part of me. I'm not saying like the sole reason. There's no like sole reason for anything we do. There's always parts that react different ways
Yes.
to different stuff. And so like the main reason that I started the Friends and Friends Airs, that's the Bobby podcast, the one
Yeah.
with Bobby with the Hey Brother podcast, is to really like emphasize and share like brotherhood is good and it's attainable. And like I want to share the examples of brotherhood that I have in my life, and which is why I'm like slowly working through like the guys in our men's group
Yeah.
and like inviting them on to the podcast, because it's like this is what brotherhood can look like, and it's good to share vulnerably. It's good to share what's going on, and that's like the core of why I wanted to start this. But there's also like parts of me, like the Mr. Beast part, that's like, but maybe like,
Well,
like,
maybe
it
you
could-
never know.
Yeah.
You could be the next Joe Rogan.
Exactly right. The Catholic Joe Rogan.
The Catholic. That's a good brand.
I've
right
got
there.
the bald head going.
Oh, there you go. You just got to start some MMA and
Get jacked.
some other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
We should probably do that regardless.
Just start a Catholic MMA or
Just get jacked.
just get jacked. Okay.
Like, yeah. Cause there's something about going to the gym by yourself that you're just like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. That's me. It was just like, I do miss a little bit of college. Just like, all right, boys, let's go get jacked.
Did you have a phase where you would go out and work out with the?
So I played lacrosse in college.
Okay, that's right. That's right.
Club lacrosse. I sat. Okay, I sat the bench in club lacrosse
Okay.
at a tiny Catholic college. So I played lacrosse in college.
Yeah.
I mean, put that on the resume.
Yeah.
Send it as your fun fact. So I loved that, actually. Like, I was truly putting in what I knew was work. Like, I had no idea how to get better at running, had no idea how to get better at getting stronger or anything, but I at least tried.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I was drinking chocolate milk after my workouts because that was like some protein and I liked it. I still do it now, even though I know it's probably not the best. But it was fun.
Yeah.
So
The chocolate milk.
the chocolate milk fueled bench ride. So
What? I know nothing about lacrosse.
yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's hockey meets dry land, not slipping and sliding. Kind of meets a little bit of soccer where you're like, you've got like back and forth and like a midfield play and passing and stuff. But it's fun. It kind of stinks that it's not really a sport that I'm like at 32 going to be like, oh, hey, I'm going to play this on the weekend, by the way. Or it's not a sport that I'm just going to hit like, Marissa, let's go pass in the backyard.
Trap on the lacrosse.
Let's just get the sticks
sticks.
and let's just pass. 'Cause we did try that last summer or maybe the summer before. And I definitely left some welts on her on accident. I'm just like, here. And
Was
she's
it?
like,
Well, it's you cradle it, right? Is that
yeah,
the term?
Yeah. There's some really, and just, man, people get so good at that. Like,
Yeah.
just whipping it with one hand, like behind their back, and just like able to just like pull it into you, and just, yeah, it's crazy. Because I mean, you got grown men just like beating you with a stick, just trying to get that ball out of that net.
Yeah.
But it's fun. Yeah.
Man, oh man. Lacrosse. Did you have a position like that you played, or?
So I played defense,
Okay.
which you play with this like super long stick, probably like 5 feet long or
Oh,
something.
wow. Okay.
So you play in this kind of defensive formation, and you're just like trying to drive them to the outside. You're trying to just take this stick and just like hit. You have to be going for the ball. You know, like you can't just be like, I'm gonna bruise your like back, or you have to be going for some ball. And I apologize to all the lacrosse heads out there that are getting in the comments. I'm so sorry. Like I said, but I played college.
Yeah.
And did you? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question. So I played defense because I couldn't run. Like, there's no way I was playing midfield or attack or anything like that.
Is it similar to like soccer positions as far as that goes, like the back midfield?
Fairly. I think it's more interesting. Not more interesting. This is how it's different than soccer. Is that 3 people have to stay on each side.
Okay.
So like there literally is a midline that like 3 people can go back and forth on each team, and then 3 people and 3 people have to stay on each side.
Yeah.
And so like that forces some like interesting back and forth as well.
So you can't have more than.
Yeah, you can't push like. At least I don't think so.
Okay, I have no idea.
But like, you can't push like all 9 up onto the other side of the field.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
Yeah.
Nice. Lacrosse. I'm slowly learning bits and pieces about it along the way about what lacrosse is, but
Okay.
Mike, it looks like field hockey, but field hockey don't call it field
Don't
hockey.
call it field hockey.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
call field hockey lacrosse.
Right. They're 2 different
There's
things.
beef there. Yeah.
Yeah, but interesting. I think we should dive into who you are.
Okay.
For these conversations, I like to go really in depth on not in depth, really spend time getting to know who I'm talking to, even though this is I already know to some degree who you are.
Yeah, you've had 4 years, and now you want me to sum it up in 20 minutes. Yeah,
Exactly.
great. Thanks.
Yeah. But I mean, that's a really good way to let people know who it is that they're listening to. What's your story? Stories are engaging and they're good to listen to. But then, as we share and talk about brotherhood and talk about the ways you want to grow as a man, it actually bears a little more weight when you actually know somebody's story. Right?
Absolutely.
And somebody shares I want to work on this X thing, but you have no idea who you're talking about. Okay, good for you. But let me, what makes John King John King?
Yeah. So when you say what's my story, are you wanting to know where I went to school, or what exactly, how deep am I going?
How deep?
What do you want? What do you want? What are you paying for?
Yeah, I just want to when people ask who are you?
Okay, so we're going deeper. We're going deeper than elevator pitch.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay. Yeah. So grew up on the west side of Cincinnati. Born Catholic. Mom ran CCD, PSR, pick your choice. So was there running it, altar served, just all that good cradle Catholic stuff.
Sure.
Fun story, Father Digger, may he rest in peace, almost gave me confession a year and a half, not confession, sorry, communion, almost gave me communion a year and a half to 2 years early.
Oh, wow.
Because he allowed me we would go to First Friday Mass. And so he allowed me to serve First Friday Mass for him, I think starting in kindergarten.
Okay.
What you have to do, you hold the book and then you walk the water and, wash his hands up. It's pretty easy. And so at one point he comes down and he just instinctively goes to give the server communion. Mm-hmm. I think I'm in first grade. And my mom from the third pew just jumps up, is no, just slow mo. So that kind of cradle Catholic, just did it, and then in high school, I was not this cool. I was not the cool guy.
No,
you see in front of you now in high school. God, I'm not cool. The fact that I have to call myself the cool guy. Shit. No, no language, bad language. Cross that out.
It's okay.
Bleep that.
We can bleep it, or
Fix it in post.
or we can leave it. I mean, I can mark it as explicit. And
Ooh, I could be your first explicit.
no, we've had explicit content before.
Okay,
Sorry,
okay.
I know you're gunning for first
Gunning
and Mitch's job, but he's
Yeah.
he's already got that first.
Okay.
And
Well, I'll gun for a second guest.
there we go.
So my parents said, "Hey, we want you to visit some Newman Guide Catholic colleges. For those of you that don't know, it's like a top 10 list of like the actual Catholic schools.
Yeah.
Again, going to start some beef I'm going to be your highest engagement. And we're going to start some beef of what a Catholic college is in the comments. So
There
they
we go.
basically were like, hey, visit these Catholic colleges. If you go to one, we'll help. We'll help pay, and if not, we love you.
Yeah.
So visited Christendom, Ave Maria, Steubenville, Benedictine, Wyoming. I fell in love with Benedictine College in Atchison, Kansas, and it's weird. Until last year, nobody knew where the school was, and then Butker decided to give
Yeah.
one hell of a commencement speech, and
You made a lot of people feel certain ways.
a lot of people felt a lot of ways. I mean, we even talked about it in our friend group quite a bit.
Yeah.
I think maybe us and the Bromledges talked about it a little bit more, since like
Yeah.
they're connected and
To
have
Kansas.
connections to Benedictine.
Yeah.
But
it's like because it created a rift, obviously, in the political dynamic. Like,
political
right,
and
left, but also like Catholics, right? Like,
oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah. The rad trads against the normies, and
yeah.
the
The
little,
normies.
yeah. I love me some rad trad. Don't
The-
don't get in the comments on that one.
Yeah.
So I went to Benedictine College.
Could, we want to go back up just
Oh,
a
yeah.
little bit with like looking at college. So you said high school, you weren't the cool kid.
No, I was wearing graphic tees and couldn't talk to girls, but like very worried. Okay, this is how uncool I was. Quick prom story.
Okay.
I was not cool, but I thought I had to have like one of those like prom what are they called, prom engagements or like whatever.
I had no idea.
So I'm in theater talking to my I did crew for theater. That's how
Crew. Okay.
cool I was.
Crew meaning like helping with
Helping in the
lights-
background.
lights
Yeah,
and
yeah.
sound.
Which is really fun. This isn't bring me back for the theater podcast.
Okay.
This isn't that. But had to have like a prom thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, we have 9 bells, 2 a day. I'm gonna send her a letter every bell saying like, will you go to? Hey, in a school of 150 in a class, that was a bad idea.
Yeah.
By 4th bell, everyone knew it was happening, and only 3 people knew who it was. And basically by then, when I went, so I had to sit next to her in 4th bell.
Okay.
Ooh, sweating bullets. I then had to walk past her locker in 5th bell
Yeah.
to get to 5th bell. And on her locker were 5 pieces of paper taped prom ? That had been put there that morning. She had already said yes to somebody
Oh, no.
that morning,
Oh,
and then
no.
proceeded to get letters the rest of the day.
Yikes.
And I had no friendship with this girl.
Yeah.
Like, she did cash, she did crew, we talked, like, but knowing now, like, I didn't have a friendship. I didn't have a base for that. I just thought women were to be asked out.
Sure.
And so did not have that formation. Oh, I knew what theology of the body was. I could quote some JP2,
Oh yeah.
but yeah.
So there's just like this awkward moment where you were trying to ask this girl out to prom. She's already been asked
She's
out.
already been asked,
But
but has to get 5 more letters in every bell presented to her in front of every class she's in.
Yeah.
Woof.
Like, what are these letters like? Like people would bring letters.
Oh yeah. So
Because that's the way I'm like I'm a
I
little
would,
lost.
yeah, the counselor, the counselor, I like went to the student counselors and was like, hey, can you give this to for her anonymity, because she's probably
Sure.
going to listen to this.
Right. Absolutely.
We'll call her Susan. Like, can you give this letter to Susan every
Sure. Every bell.
bell? And don't do that.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're listening to this, don't do that.
Yeah.
Woof.
Man, that's interesting because it's just like it's one. It's like being look back on past John and be like, that's good creativity. Right?
Hey,
Yeah, ingenuity.
yeah, thanks.
And
That's a generous read on that situation.
Well, I think it's good to look back and I mean you can see both sides. Like you can see as an adult and be like, yeah, that was kind of dumb.
Yeah.
But also you can see like there's hope there.
There's some swag there.
Yeah, there's
some riz there.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know. It's like there was a confidence at least enough to like ask a girl out and like
For sure.
like so.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. I just like when you say it because it can mean all sorts of different things.
Sure.
And people listening to this, I'm sure all feel different ways about high school.
Yeah.
I know like I felt super awkward in high school, but there's some people who like listen to this and they're like, high school was the best.
I'm pulling high school off right now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the listeners are thinking right now.
They're pulling high.
They're killing it in high school.
Yeah, if they're a high school listener.
Yeah, high school listeners.
Well, yeah. I think there's always like a little bit of us that is like, yeah, I'm awesome. Like in high school, I don't know. I went back.
You played football, so
yeah, but I wasn't like a popular football player.
Okay.
Like I didn't sit at the football player table for lunch, so
okay.
that says anything.
Yeah.
I mean, even in small farm town Ohio, like we still had
You had more than
clicks.
one table.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
We had 3.
You shared something the other day that I thought, and hopefully you're okay with me sharing anything that you
Yep.
shared with me prior, is looking back is just how much of a people pleaser you were. And I've thought about that a lot, actually. I don't remember when we were talking about that, but just like, not that I changed myself to please people, but just how much I think about, if I had done this, if I had done that, like, I could have made that person happier, or I could have made that person think higher of me.
How many times do you go back in our minds
How
to
much you
replay
just,
it?
yes.
I think it's especially like hard in high school because I think anyone, wherever you're at on that dynamic, I think those thoughts are going like, how am I going to get socially accepted here? Right?
Oh yeah, and learn who you are.
Yeah, as a jock, you're like, it's through sports, duh, bro, right? Like that's the jock mentality. Like if I can do really really good at the sport, then I'm going to be accepted.
Yeah.
And other people like if I'm deviant, right? If I'm the outcast, like then like there's like a secret part of them, like then somebody will notice me, right?
Yeah.
Right? Like which is like counterintuitive, but it's like you can take high school and it like almost, in my opinion, amplifies like somebody's like whole kind of interpersonal dynamic setting that they're gonna kind of carry with them moving forward into life. Because it's like you can go back and say that's why I'm like wanting to spend time with it a little bit. In your story, it's like
Okay.
I wasn't the cool kid.
Yeah.
Okay, like what does that say about John's life today? Like, is there still
Okay, I see what you're getting
a
at.
part of John that's like I'm not the cool kid?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like even in this interview, like why does anyone like want to listen to what I have to say? I'm just John King.
Oh, imposter syndrome is real.
Yeah.
Yeah, heck yeah, let's get into imposter syndrome. So where this story ends up is I am now the director of mission advancement at St. Paul here in Dayton. We oversee homeless shelters. We currently have 500 guests every night in the homeless shelter, and I oversee the department to fundraise $2.5 to $3 million a year. And I oversee a staff of 6 people. Sorry, it has grown.
It's grown. Yeah.
It's grown in the last couple of months, so that's why I'm a little spotty on that number. But like 3 of them are older than me.
Oh,
I
wow.
mean, all within like a decade, but still, like that's just so much more. And so like the imposter syndrome of just like, do they think I'm a good enough boss? Like, am I conveying this right? Like, do they actually want to learn from me? Like, there's no way. Like, they already know more than I ever could. And so Yeah, free therapy lesson here. I like this.
Not therapy, just processing.
Just processing. Thank you.
That's what somebody said. Yeah, I was like, oh, and it was my last interview, like with Father Sam, that's gonna be dropping.
Okay.
Well, before we're breaking the fourth wall. That'll be dropping before this episode.
This airs, but after we record it.
Yeah. Anyway, he's like, that's why people start podcasts, right? Is like to like talk about their thoughts,
Talk about
the processing thoughts. I'm like, kind of, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I mean, like as soon as you sat me down, we had maybe 20 minutes of IT. Heads up, I didn't stop talking into this thing. I've not stopped talking into this thing.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
So going back to like the imposter
You
syndrome.
keep wanting to go back to high school, and
And you're
I don't like that. No.
Let's just shove that away.
Let's put that. Let's put that back there.
That is me like putting my mentor hat on. Like, is this like that's what I want to talk about? Like, let's talk about the elephant room.
You're doing imposter syndrome. Yeah.
Imposter syndrome was like it's crazy how those elements of our past show up throughout our whole life. Again, that's like kind of the whole like why do I start with asking guys about their stories? Because it's like it shows up, and now like you're like talking about where you're at now as a director of mission advancement for St. Vincent de Paul, and how that imposter syndrome shows up, and like that's where I'm like, so you made that connection by just talking about it. I'm curious what connection you see.
My IQ or my EQ is
your EQ
through the ceiling.
Yeah,
Thank
your
you
emotional. Wait,
emotional.
is that what you're saying? EQ.
Yeah, EQ. Yeah, I don't know if that's a technical term. It came up when we were hiring some people, and they were like, their EQ is very good. I think it just means emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence. Okay. I don't know where Q comes in with the IQ, EQ.
Yeah, maybe they're just, hey, Q's, the big Q lobbyists are really trying to get it out there.
Yeah, they're getting some respect for Q.
They got the E in.
That's awesome. Yeah, okay, so like, St. Vincent de Paul and imposter syndrome, you're managing these people, and they're older than you, they might have a little more life experience than you.
Absolutely.
And you're like, what do I do with that?
With that.
Yeah.
But it also comes up in being a parent.
Sure.
Is just like how much you think about every little thing, and if you're the one that should be making that decision, or it just even if like you're hanging out with friends and you're like, oh, I could be doing this like them, but I'm not. That makes me less. And so like I don't know if that's exactly imposter syndrome.
Sure.
But it feels very connected in that like self-doubt, like questioning for sure.
Yeah, that identity like searching piece, like you moved here for the Boy Scouts
in 18
and
we met in 20, let's just say 21. Let's say that for the pod.
That sounds good.
Did I carry imposter syndrome? No, I don't think I ever really thought about imposter syndrome until I started my professional career.
Okay.
Started working for the Boy Scouts, and in that moment, you are supposed to be the Boy Scout guy in an area. For me, it was Kansas, then it was here in Dayton, and you're supposed to recruit volunteers that are way older than you in almost every circumstance, and you're supposed to lead them. That's wild.
Yeah.
So I think that's where that first started. In Benedictine, taking, I think I was just awkward.
Yeah.
I lucked into a solid friend group, an amazing friend group, just the best college roommate. Shout out Kyle Kirshen, miss him.
I don't know Kyle, but
you don't know Kyle.
He sounds like he deserves
he's worth that whoop whoop.
Yeah.
Haven't talked to him in a while. Kind of lost that connection, but great guy. And just other guys who, like, one of them, I was like, oh my gosh, you have a PlayStation? We're going to be best friends. I didn't bring mine, so I'm coming over here to play.
Yeah.
And then another guy who just kind of, like, starfished onto us, and in a good way. I love Joey. He is just a solid dude who's always there for you.
Yeah.
So I really lucked into this friend group in college. And then really the next like formative thing I can think of is sophomore year I was an RA,
Okay.
and they all lived in another dorm kind of far off. So didn't have that like daily brotherhood. We're gonna use that buzzword here.
Yeah. Use
Um,
it away.
use that, thank you. And fell into a really deep depression. Like I think that's the first point I could ever be like, oh, this is what that's like. This, like, looking back, but also I think I knew it in the moment of just like laying in bed and just not having the energy to get out of it,
Yeah.
and just like being like, nothing matters. Why am I here? Why am I doing this? Nobody likes me. Like, I don't know what triggered it. I don't know, like, other than it was just like, it was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot of work. It was a lot of being alone. There was some girl, like, actual, like, mature relationships had occurred.
Like dating relationships.
Like dating, yeah. Like
Yep.
dating, and so like figuring out and managing that, that had occurred as well. And so that's really what I think about when I think back to like college and maybe mental health.
Okay.
It's just that depression, and then riding that out till living in Holton.
Yeah.
We kind of talked about that a little bit of just like, oh, I was doing podcasts because I was so alone. It's like, yeah, I was living in a small town by myself, no friends. My girlfriend at the time was 45 minutes away, so
Okay.
like we'd see each other maybe on weekends.
This is post graduation.
This is post-grad. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And so, like, you lived that RLA life, like, did you say sophomore year? Or
Sophomore year, junior year, senior year, lived with those guys in a house.
Okay.
That was awesome.
Okay.
Man, when we talk about starting community here in Dayton,
Yeah.
that's the moment in life I go back to.
Okay. Sweet.
That's what I think about is like,
So, yeah, that moment in senior
Yes.
year where you're with these guys, and it's interesting. So there's like this ebb and flow that happened with college. It sounds like
Yeah.
where the freshman year was good. You kind of had some forced relationship. Me and Mitch talked about that, and his or maybe it was Jeff. I don't know. Sometime
it was Mitch's reflection of Jeff.
Yeah.
Jeff episode talking about the Ohio State dorms.
Yeah, where it's like you're forced into relationship in some regards, and so I think every college kids get that to some degree. Forced is maybe a strong word. You still have a choice of like rejecting the immediate like person,
but it's thrusted upon you.
Yeah. But then the RA life was lonely.
Yeah.
But then back into community for a little bit, and then out to Holton.
Holton. Yeah. Sophomore year was so lonely and so low that I actually requested and like not fought, but like said, I'm not being an RA if you don't let me do this. Was have an upper class roommate who was my friend in the freshman dorm with me. Like that was just unheard of. We had a little bit of a bigger suite because I was a second year RA, but I was like, I'm not returning to be an RA unless you let Nathan live with me.
Yeah.
It's not happening. But then, that senior year of living with the guys who all of them were in my wedding party. I text two of them every day about either Survivor or soccer. The other two, I chat with about video games regularly. And so like, that's the time when we talk about like, hey, let's start a farm or a downtown thing. That's what I go back to.
Yeah, there's something so good about that, like being in close relationship with guys, not just like sharing life with guys, but like actually proximity. Like I'm actually in the same house as this guy, and and it does a world of difference for, so like what you notice, like mental health, like actually being in relationship with guys, like there's, at least that's what I'm seeing, is like
Oh, for
a
sure.
world of difference. And I don't think your struggle with sophomore year and junior year are too like distant from a lot of guys. Not that, like, I mean, you're a unique man and like you have your own
Yeah.
unique like wounds and everything like that, but I think a lot of guys struggle with making meaningful relationships in college. I think it's really easy to like drift it off to something that's pretty fleeting, like I'm gonna go get drunk,
Yeah.
and and that's the height of the relationship. Or there's some folks maybe in a smaller category who are just like, I'm here for my job, like in my
Mhm.
career.
Here to start something.
Yeah, but I think like relationship can feel very hard to grasp
Yeah.
in that college state, especially if you're coming from different situations in high school. Like we kind of alluded back to, where like maybe high school was an easy place to find relationship, maybe it was a hard place, and you're like, this is a new beginning, and that can start to find relationship.
Absolutely.
But like it's such a like a weird place in time that people are struggling to figure it out. And I'm not saying like people don't figure it out. There are probably some really awesome college relationships that last till today.
Yeah.
And like you found that towards the end of your high school or college experience with these guys. But I don't think it's too dissimilar to go through college and like feel that sharp edge of like, I feel alone.
Hmm.
I feel like I'm the only one here, and like all I want is to be in relationship with people, but I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah.
I don't know how to get there. I don't want to get up out of bed because like, what is there to get out of bed for?
Yeah, I think if someone's listening to this and they're discerning living in household, whether it's in college, it's SPO, it's Focus, it's after college, just living with a buddy, do it.
Yeah,
Like, you won't get that opportunity back because it's different than living with a spouse.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
me and Marissa don't stay up till 2 a.m. playing every map of Battlefront 2. And, like, him drinking so much Miller Lite that he has an allergic reaction.
Yeah.
Like, and it wasn't binge drinking, but it was just like, that doesn't happen in marriage. And it's unique. Like, so
Yeah.
do it. If you have that opportunity, do it.
yeah.
So-
Absolutely, yeah. Because I experienced a little bit of that, like with Net. Like,
Mhm.
I've never like lived in a household with guys, but living intentionally through a year of like I'm gonna be doing crazy stuff with you, and
Oh,
and it's
man.
like you can't avoid you can avoid some of the worst moments if you really try hard, but like you're usually in it there with them, like through the thick and thin, and like that's where good brotherhood starts to be built.
Yeah.
Is like seeing guys at their worst, seeing guys at their best, seeing doing crazy things, living out the adventure of life together. And a lot of guys don't get that chance. So I appreciate that encouragement to the listeners. I think there's something really good. And even if you're listening to this post college, like what?
Oh, especially do it post grad.
Yeah, post grad. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
save that rent money, baby.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. It just makes sense to try to live in community with guys. And one of the things I want to like chat about too is brotherhood.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm
and-
sorry, we're all over the
No,
place.
no.
Let's hit on brotherhood.
yeah, like I mean, that's the name of the podcast. Hey, brother. When we come back to brotherhood a lot, but yeah, what's that been like for you? Obviously, it's been a moving target,
Yeah.
but senior year of college, there's something there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you sent me a text kind of to prep me a little bit, a little behind the scenes.
yeah,
And then something happened this week that I was like, oh my gosh, this one thing like contextualizes, but also is like such a great example of like probably what a lot of guys have gone through. And it's in a Discord server. Plug your Discord server.
there we go.
put it in. What's it actually called? It's in the show comments.
Men Striving for More. Yeah, you can
Men
find
Striving
it.
for
You
More.
can find it in the show notes.
Go join that one. But the one I'm in is friends that we've played video games with.
Yeah.
So half of them I know real life. The other half are friends of friends that I've met maybe once or twice. And one of them posted a picture of 2 Christian books that their mother, I think, had gave them. And then the comments just started rolling in of like, wow, the balls on them to give you, Bible story books. And, why don't we send them back a Praise Allah book or whatever. And it was just like, I was just like, you can mail them to me if you don't want them. I'll read them to Lucy.
Yeah.
And just like, sometimes you don't realize the echo chamber of like negativity that you're in, or the echo chamber of like things that you don't want to value.
Yeah.
Until it's too late.
Yeah.
Until they've had, and these are all great guys, love them all to death. But I think that's just an example of like sometimes how like online communities ain't it.
Yeah.
Like you have to be very particular about your online communities. Hey brother, hit it up. Crafted for More, absolutely. But you have to be so careful. And so that's what I was in Holton, because I didn't have that real in-person brotherhood.
Yeah. Tease that out a bit. Like, what is the difference there between like online?
Well, they started a porn channel.
Oh wow.
Like
that's big.
Yeah, it's not like hardcore porn or anything. It's like, oh, look at this like thirst trap from Instagram or whatever.
Yeah.
I literally messaged with my actual buddy there, and I was like, you need to set a role on here that doesn't allow me to be a part of that channel.
Yeah.
Like, set it up so that everybody who wants to be a part of it can be a part of it except me. But, like, even to share that,
sure,
I think can kind of send a message. Like, I don't know that we've ever sent each other, thirst traps,
right?
And so,
I sure hope not.
Actually, I don't think we ever have.
Yeah.
And so like, I think that like can kind of send a message of like, thinking through like what kind of brotherhood are you joining? What kind of people? Because you're absolutely going to be like the people that you're with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, finding that right group to be with and to love. And to let them love you is important. And I don't know how we got on this, and I hope it's making sense to people that are listening.
Yeah, no, it's making sense.
Okay, good.
I think it's such a good point, because it's like online, it's harder to see like who is it that I'm actually relating to, relating with, and like I think that's on one side of it. It's like us engaging with that community. Like I have a good idea who these people are, but I don't know exactly who they are, and there's going to be a risk involved jumping into that group. There's a risk involved jumping into any group.
Yeah,
but I think the more, I want to say this, like the more costly or the more damaging part of it is like me not being myself to the group that I'm a part of. Like I'm thinking of like the guys that are in that group, that Discord group, like how many of them would just straight up like in person like share a thirst trap with you?
Hey, look at this picture of Natalie Portman, like just in the workplace.
Right,
yeah,
right,
absolutely.
And like there's such a layer of like being able to hide behind that you don't have to like
that anonymity.
Yeah.
I got that in one.
Yeah, there we go. That was good. I suck at saying words. Like I can even. Yeah, it would be
anonymity.
Yeah, the place that clownfish live, right?
That's a deep Finding Nemo cut.
Yeah, always. Now my mind's all over the place. It's like,
hey guys, we're recording this at like 2 a.m.
2 a.m.
You gotta forgive us.
There we go. Yeah, give people give us sympathy.
Yeah.
Where were we at?
Hey, I don't remember. What else we want to talk about?
We're just moving right on. Like the difference between in-person community, online community, like, is huge. I think there is like real depth that can happen online.
Oh, for sure.
But at the same time, it's like how is that impacting our like lives offline? Because like our lives can be lived online quite a bit, but like ultimately it comes back to in flesh relational ministry, relational like realities.
Yeah.
That's what it comes back to, and like the time we spend online is going to impact that.
We have human bodies.
Right.
We've been given these human bodies that we need to live in and like experience other people with.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I think it's really easy to substitute that out. And I've talked about that in a different episode on Hey Brother, where it's like if people find good brotherhood here through the comment section, through the community that we're building with this podcast, awesome. But like, don't stop there. Like, take that and actually translate it into like relationship with guys. Go get a beer with somebody, have a conversation like this. Like, it's scary, but it's worth it. like I can't describe more than that. Like, actually, like putting yourself in a place where you can encounter good men.
Mm-hmm.
So with brotherhood in your life, like, is there? Yeah, you've experienced it in Atchison, right? That's where.
Yeah.
That's where
that's cool.
That's where school is.
Got it in one.
Yeah, there we go. I'm proud of myself for that.
Thank you, Harrison Butker.
Yeah, put it on the map. But like, is there more to brotherhood that you're looking at, like in life, like current brotherhood, like where you came from, going to school at Benedictine? Take me into that maybe a little bit.
Yeah. So I mean, my brotherhood now is former guest Jeff.
Yeah.
Your brother Mitch. We have this kind of dad group and men's group that we're all a part of, as well as we're just friends.
Right.
And so like, I think you guys challenge me in like good ways, ways of like how to be a father, how to raise my daughter. Sometimes not a big politics guy. We're not gonna go down that rabbit hole. But having actual good conversations with Jeff, of like, hey man, I don't know how to process this.
Sure.
I don't like, help me out. I'm leaning this way. Like, let's talk this out. I need help processing this. And that's been great. And then just having brothers that invite you to be out of your comfort area.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier when I was talking about colleges, I mentioned Steubenville was on the Newman Guide list, and didn't go to Steubenville. One, because they only had a 2-year degree in criminology.
Okay.
But more was, ooh, there's some freaks up there waving their hands and doing a little guitar stringing, and no, that's not how mommy raised me.
No charismatic.
No charismatic. Don't dare sing that song that makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Next to my Eucharist. No, thank you. And so, I mean, literally, like, jokes aside, went to like a Sunday night mass while I was visiting Steubenville, and I was like, this ain't it, Chef. Like, no, thank you. But you guys invited me to Damascus.
Yeah.
And they do that there, so I did a little bit of the like down under, then got a little higher, get a little shoulder length. But then we went again, and having that brotherhood who invites you and challenges you to that uncomfortable space, you never know what it's going to fall into.
Yeah.
I go back and forth. Sometimes I feel like that second time we went, and like you guys prayed over me.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I feel like that really honestly like cured my depression.
Yeah. Wow.
Like
Dang.
just like a prayer of healing of just like I had this just like little fuzzy tingly feeling in the back of my head while you guys were praying over me.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, what was that? Last fall,
Yep.
I haven't spent a single day just like wallowing in my bed.
Yeah. Praise God.
Yeah, like I don't know. I'm in a drought sometimes right now, you know, so sometimes I'm like, probably just like making it up or whatever, but also sometimes like that's weird cuz
Yeah.
like that happened and just before that I was like having some real like
Yeah.
I don't get out of bed days. And so like that brotherhood inviting you to difficult things, you don't know where that's leading.
Yeah.
And
That can be scary too. Like,
it's terrifying.
yeah. Yeah.
Like yeah.
I think that's something that I respect about you is like the courage to like let yourself be challenged in that way. I think
Well, thank you.
it's good because it's like, yeah, you could have went to that retreat with us. That was a little charismatic. I've been to a few retreats that have been a lot more charismatic.
Yeah, Damascus does it right.
Yeah, but like you could have went to that and just been like, nah, I'm done with this group. Like,
Yeah.
like thank you guys. I'll keep it cordial, but like not for me.
Yeah.
But like to let yourself be challenged, I think takes a lot of courage and
Thank you.
just an openness to responding. Like, okay, yeah, we'll see where this goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, and that was a big thing with entering into JP2 families.
Yeah,
Was I was probably the most reluctant, and just like dying to myself of like, okay, this is what like these people that I respect, these people that I love want to do. This is something my wife has really felt we need to do, we need to partake in. That I've been like, all right, we do it. I think I even said it last time. I was like, I don't really vibe with the Angelus, y'all. Like, I don't
Yeah.
love it. I'm still trying. I'm probably only at like 2 a day.
yeah.
I'm really bad at the morning one. I just like
The morning one's tough.
out the door, you know, noon alarm, absolute banger. Get that done.
Yeah,
Do it after dinner. Great.
yeah,
Got that one down. But like, yeah, just it is hard, and I appreciate you saying that because I don't feel like that is actually something I'm good at. Like, we're going through a lot of challenges at work, and like every time I'm challenged at work, I feel like I really like lock down and
Yeah.
like just like, ooh, I'm gonna need an afternoon to like process this one.
yeah.
Like, so I appreciate that, and I'll have to carry that as like a little
Yeah.
tool belt. So
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I think there's, as men in particular, we can always be encouraged by looking back where we have succeeded, right?
Yeah.
And to see like, we're capable of a lot. Like, like to really look back and like say like, wow, like, no, like I've done some stuff that I should be really proud of. Like,
Yeah.
and I think that's like an encouragement that I want to like, one, like I get to know you as a friend, as a brother. And so like, I get to see you
hey,
be,
if I cry, it is 2 a.m. and we were recording this podcast. So if I cry right now, that's why.
that's why it's good. Like men need to be okay with crying. Like I was on a
For sure.
podcast with Dr. Greg. And like, we were literally talking about that. Like we need to be okay with being emotional. Like
Yeah.
it's a part of who we are as guys. But like, I think there is something really good about, embracing the challenges that you have, like in brotherhood, and letting yourself be challenged. Because again, it could have been easy just to be like at any point, not just like the big ask of like the retreat, but like
Yeah.
any little point like along the way of like getting invited into more things, like be like, nope, I'm done.
Nope.
But like again, having that humility and the courage to do that. And then I think like where I was going with that, like looking back, I think every guy can do this. Like I know myself included, like I look back and see like, no, like there are some things that like I've done and like I can keep doing because like, you know, God's given me the strength to do this, and like we're capable of so much.
Yeah.
And I don't think guys hear that enough. Like you got like you, John, you listener, like are capable of so many awesome things, and I think that's gonna be part of the way that the Lord uses men's communities to change the world, because it's like He wants us to do great things. Yeah.
That's something that's been on my heart, because Exodus 90 started last week,
Yeah.
and we have a priest at the shelter who started doing daily mass, and during his homily of the mass day, when in Exodus 90 started, it was like, we're called to be challenged.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that day, like, there were only the guys were in mass. So he first started by going like, brothers and sisters, brothers, and then like the next time he was like, brothers. But like he called us to that challenge, and like I've just been in this rut of like, oh man, life's kind of the same every day. I wake up, get my bacon, egg, and cheese, put a little jelly on it. You can fight about that in the comments.
Yeah, definitely do.
Pack a lunch, go to work, come home. I only see my daughter for an hour and a half before she goes to bed. And then we watch an episode of The Rookie. We play Prayer Memorare. And every day is the same. And I've just been thinking about like all that challenge that we're called to. Like, as men, we have that just like that desire built into us. And if I was smart enough, I'd probably quote some like Wild at Heart chapter at you right now. Hey, I've read the first 20 pages, so I basically get it.
There you go.
But just like, I think that's what I need to like really do, is like step up to that challenge. I mean, it's just the little things of like, take a cold shower, die to yourself in, those moments where your wife and your kid aren't being the best they can.
Sure.
Sorry, I'm just laughing about the men's group.
Yeah.
Kind of conversation about how do you talk about your wife in a very loving way, but also a way that's like
reality.
Yeah. And
because those are the hard moments, right? Like when people
Yeah.
are being not particularly lovable, like, and then the call is to love them.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, my son fell over like 4 times before dinner today or something like that. Like, just kept running into stuff, and like it was like each time like, okay buddy, it's gonna be fine. Like,
Yeah.
start screaming because he stubbed his toe or something, and each time it was just like, oh my gosh, kid, like, stop running into this. like
watch where you're going.
yeah. And like this inner battle of like not blowing up at him,
Yeah.
versus like giving him a loving response. And like tonight was good, but like there's definitely like not a few days where it's not a good day, where it's like I do get angry, and it's
Yeah.
just like, but what you're saying is that challenge of like loving in no like huge ways too. It's like in the ordinary life, like the everyday, almost the mundane ways.
Yeah.
And the cold showers help with that, because it's like, how can we connect the two? It's like, well, you don't want to take a cold shower, just the same way you don't want to like love people when when you're like angry. Like, it's forming this discipline to like be able to put your will aside, or
Yeah.
what you want aside, and choose the other person.
Well, and if you can't do it, I had a couple thoughts there. The first being, first off, I feel that pain. Like, Lucy is in this point where I swear we have a 9-month-old who's a toddler.
Yeah.
Like, she's crawling all over the place. She's getting into everything. She'll even, like, when me changing her, she'll, like, thrust her hips up and, like, just backboard and then start laughing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, Marissa, tap in. And she stops. She just sits there and she just changes perfectly for mommy. But I'm also kind of like, does she know that if I say no, like,
Yeah.
and like that's almost a frustrating thing.
Like, respect me.
Like,
young
why?
lady.
I can't correct you because you're not smart enough yet, but you probably are smart enough by the fact that you're like, it's such a confusing age to be a parent.
Right.
But the thing I definitely need to do is in that like dying to yourself or not dying to yourself, but in that like taking up to be challenged and to deny yourself is like, if I can't deny myself a hot shower,
Mm-hmm.
am I practicing the skill to deny myself pornography
Yeah.
or an extra drink or whatever it is? Like in that moment where I really, really, really want that Fortnite skin, like if I'm not practicing in those other moments,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be ready to say no to the Fortnite skin.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's how we're going to use that to dodge the explicit tag.
There we go. The dude is already tagged. It's,
no.
no, it's good. It's real. I mean, you don't have to be explicit to be real, but
Yeah.
the stuff.
So, but that's for me. Sometimes that's real. Is like, I think about my phone usage,
Yeah.
and I'm so sorry, podcast listener. I'm all over the place. It's 2 a.m. We're in a warehouse,
In the middle of
in the middle of Dayton.
Dayton.
We're in the Wright Brothers warehouse.
Yeah.
Like I think about my phone, and it's like I can't say no to it.
Yeah.
And what is that saying? And I'm not saying anything revolutionary. You've heard a million people talk about this. But, like, what is that saying to my daughter who is like, oh, the person I love is looking at this box more than me. And just, like, how much time do I have on earth that I'm looking at a box instead of her? But I just can't say no.
Yeah.
And it's because I haven't practiced that freaking skill of saying no in these other moments.
Yeah.
And then just how much that comes up. I don't think I realized how much that comes up. Like, obviously, you know, when it comes to porn, when it comes to that, like, I knew that was a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't realize just how much it comes up in, oh, yeah, I want to buy that Fortnite skin. And I literally bring up microtransactions in video games because it's a weakness for me,
Sure.
and I'm sure it's a weakness for other guys. But then in just, like, saying no to using your phone, like all of that stuff, like, man, if that was a skill I could go back and tell myself
Younger self. Yeah.
10, 20 years ago, it was like, practice that.
Saying no. Yeah.
Saying no to yourself
Yeah.
in everything.
Yeah, I mean, like that's like ultimately the struggle of life and relating to people is like, how do I put down my wants and to be in a relationship with somebody else? And I think that's a lot of the reason God designed like the world, us suffering pain the way that He designed it, because it's like unless we have something that shows us like there's sacrifice, there's something worth sacrificing for, like then we have a really hard time actually choosing to sacrifice, right? So like point in cases like the cross, like He shows us the cross leads to resurrection. There's something good that comes from me actually denying myself. It comes back to like life coming from that, and He does it in a very explicit way through this painful suffering, and the same thing can happen to us. But like if we are going to expect sunshine and rainbows when we sacrifice, like we shouldn't. We should look at Christ's example and like see the darkness that was that, and like that's the same kind of experience, although on a micro scale that we're going to experience.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to be easy, but that's where like it comes back to telling ourselves like, and I'm excited about this because I'm like telling you as much as I'm telling myself. It comes back to like this mindset of like, we can do hard things. like at some point we learn the script that we can't do hard things.
Yeah.
Like and like that needs to be undone, because it's like, no, we can do hard things. Are we gonna screw up? Of course. like
It's a hard one to undo.
We have weakness. Like it's gonna happen. We're not gonna be perfect, but like we could do hard things.
Yeah.
Like it's possible. And I gotta tell myself that regularly. Like for me, it's like getting to bed on time, right? Like for whatever reason, that's a hard.
See, here we are, 2 a.m.
Exactly,
in a warehouse
in the middle of Tuscaloosa.
We're not in bed on time.
This is well worth going past bedtime, though. But it's like it's one of those things where that's hard, but I have to remind myself it's like I can do hard things. even if it's not perfect. And I think like the same thing could be said about like starting these, because like you're not alone with the small sacrifices or the small ways of like wanting to discipline the will so I can actually say yes to the good things that I need to say yes to. A lot of guys struggle with that. Like a lot of guys struggle with that, and you're not alone in that. Guys listening to this are not alone in that, and it can feel really daunting when we have to feel like there's a whole list of things I need to do in order to be the perfect saint.
Oh yeah.
But it's like start small, right? Like recognize our weakness. Take a little lesson from James Clear, who has a book called Atomic Habits. Like start with like a 2-minute thing that you can say yes to. Like, is it two? Maybe it's not an entire cold shower. Maybe it's 2 minutes of the shower are cold.
Sorry, is he the one that's like, if you're trying to read a book, just read a page every day?
Yeah.
Oh man, I should probably read a page of his book every day.
It could be good. It could be good. I mean, it's like, but we got to meet ourselves in a lot of ways where we're at. Like, I think we kind of like put ourselves, not ourselves, but like our expectations for ourselves in this like far off, distant, like idealized place.
Yes, so true.
Yeah, and it's like, but we're not there, and we can take steps there.
Yeah. The thought I was fighting back while trying to actively listen to you,
Sure.
which I feel like I do that so often, was, I think it was Jeff who was talking about a saint or something. Maybe not. Maybe a quote or something. Somebody find it, put it in the comments. Was about just like how much harder we have it than the saints did. And just how many more graces we're going to receive because of that. Like,
yeah,
the saints, like Saint Therese, didn't have this.
Yeah.
Like, you know, she didn't have those kind of distractions. She didn't have, like, the world's knowledge at the palm of her hand. And so we get a little more grace.
Right.
Like, not an excuse, not a full excuse, but like just a little bit of grace and just like, yeah, they weren't trying to sell you, you know, Vader doing Orange Justice in Fortnite. Like, that's pretty cool, y'all. Hey, Therese didn't have to worry about buying that or not.
I have no idea what Orange Justice is, but
it's the best dance ever.
The best dance.
Whatever.
That's awesome.
Hey, Mitch, good luck recapping this one. Good luck.
Yeah, the task is set before you, sir.
Yeah. If you can't do it, I'm coming for you. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really great point, though. Like God gives us the grace, like for whatever it is that we're facing. It doesn't make it easy. It doesn't excuse us and like and us failing. Like there is certainly we have fault in failing. At the same time, we can have compassion on ourselves, right? Like to understand, like there is a lot of things stacked against us. You know, that's something as men we don't take into account for, right? Like we just kind of see the goal, and we see we're not getting there.
Yeah,
and then we just spiral from there.
We also see other men in the good moments.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you were sharing that story about one of the boys like kept falling and stuff, and I'm like, your boys? No, I don't believe you. I don't believe that story. Francis and Stephen are God-given little angels, but that's what we like. They truly are. I truly believe that.
I think they're pretty awesome. But what you're saying is absolutely true, right?
Yeah.
You only see them in the good moments.
Absolutely.
Outside the house.
Outside the house where they know the expectation is to be on their best behavior. You know, and of course we've spent enough time that, you know, we've babysat them and we've seen those. But thanks to social media, you know, thanks to just our own desire to be seen in a way that is positive.
Yeah.
You know, we go to work looking good. We don't go to work messed up hair and a shirt too small, you know.
Sure.
We put ourselves out presentable, so that's how other people see us.
Mm-hmm.
We don't like. It takes a lot to then see somebody in that moment. So
Yeah.
not only are you putting yourself up on a pedestal high, but you have all these things around you that are like
Yeah. Like,
also up on
yeah,
pedestals.
you're looking at them and like it's not only the high expectation I'm setting for myself, but it's also this like facade of everyone's succeeding except for me.
Yeah.
Right. Like that you see outside.
And that feels so real of just like you like I think back to like, getting a pay raise at work
Mm-hmm.
and how happy I should have felt, how recognized and seen I should have felt. But you go back to comparing of like,
Yeah.
well, Zach over here is making twice that programming AI,
Yeah.
and Rocket over here's, driving a Maserati, like, through the streets of Dayton.
Yeah.
Actually did see a Porsche.
Okay. I'm not a car guy, so
I think it's like a Porsche SUV on the way over to men's group, and I was just like, oh, that must be nice. And then I'm like robbing myself because I like just that comparison.
yeah. Yeah.
It's hard to then like sacrifice something else, something little.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't know what demons they're hiding,
Right.
and those demons probably are called debt.
Yeah. To some degree, yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, yeah, everyone's facing travel. Like we're all wounded. Like and I don't think we recognize that enough. And yeah, it can create this echo chamber of like just kind of telling ourselves false lies, like false rumors about ourselves, about who other people think we are, who we think we are ourselves, and it's so easy to kind of start to spiral. But it's like I want to be here to remind myself, because like I'm not above the rule, right? Like I fall subject to this all the time, where I'm like constantly falling into these like parts of myself, starting to compare myself. It's like, if only I was as good as so and so, then I'd be living the best life.
yeah,
But to remind ourselves that like no, like that Trez quote or whatever quote you were talking about, like where we have the grace, like it's there.
you're thinking about men's group, right?
Not the trees. The one you were talking about, like just
Was that an actual quote?
earlier.
I was just talking about Jeff. I thought it was something Jeff said.
We're quoting Saint Jeff, future
Okay.
future
Yep.
Saint Jeff.
Future Saint Jeff.
Yeah, about having the grace to live out whatever it is that we're challenged with. Like,
Yeah.
like it's there, and like we can do it. And I want that to be an encouragement and like an affirmation of the fact that like we can do hard things. Like, and I think I need to tell that to a part of myself time and time again. It doesn't mean like it won't suck, right? Like it's okay to have sucky days. And I need to tell myself that a lot of times too, where I wake up and I'm like, is this going to work? It's like,
Yeah.
and like the doubts start to come, and it's like, man, like I kind of feel like shit, right? Like it's okay to have sucky days. Like tomorrow is going to be better. And if it's not, like the next day is probably going to be better. Like when you wake up and you actually slept a full 8 hours and yeah, you got coffee in you, like things look a lot differently.
Yeah.
And like if you haven't gotten any sleep and like, maybe you fell into porn, maybe, whatever the case may be,
Yeah.
like 9-day difference on like how you're feeling.
Hey, thank goodness we have confession. Can
Yeah.
we just pour one out for Jesus who gave us confession? Like, thank you.
Yeah, like to bring that to a place. But I'm so cognizant of the time right now because it is what 2 a.m., 3 a.m. at this point.
At this point, it's 4 a.m.
4 a.m.
and we're in a warehouse.
It's late. We'll keep it at that. But
All right.
it's been great to have you on the
Hey,
podcast.
Thank you so much. I look forward to coming back.
Yeah.
That's my called shot.
Con shot. Yeah.
Coming back.
Coming back, pointing to the center field fence. He's coming back, baby. It's been good. I've really enjoyed this conversation. I think it's gonna be a blessing in a lot of guys' lives just to hear, like, okay, like so many relatable things that you bring to the table, John. And I just appreciate you sharing that on here. And for anyone else who's listening, whoever else listening, John's listening.
I'm listening. I hope this recorded because good luck putting this much lightning in another bottle.
Yeah, I am. There's like a part of me that's a little nervous that I'm like, something doesn't look quite right, but we're still going.
6 a.m. in a warehouse, baby.
If you're still here, thank you so much for listening to the Hey Brother podcast. Yeah, I really enjoy recording these conversations with brothers, and I hope it's a blessing to you. It'd mean a lot if you could like this, throw a comment down in the comment section to help get engagement going, and share it out there to guys who are looking for brotherhood, guys who are looking to grow in holiness. That's who this podcast is for. And it'd be great to get it out there in front of guys to help spread brotherhood.
Hit that like button.
There we go.
Do it.
God bless.